And of course, on the Bill of Health, as we call it here, I'm joined by Attorney Rita White, as well as Judge Karen Ford Hood from the Michigan Court of Appeals. She's also a member of the Judicial Tenure Commission, the only African American judge on the Judicial Tenure Commission. And Judge Hood has, for a long time, has been a pillar in this community. We're not going to talk about the law today and, who has a ticket and how the tickets can be dismissed. But I want to talk about Black women and their health. George, let me begin with you in terms of, just your take on this and how important this is for you.
Well, first of all, it's good to see you. Thank you so much for having us here today. It's the health issue in the African American community, in the Black community, it's just disproportionately affecting our population.
Right.
I, in particular, became very active with this concern, the health issue, when I was 18 years old and was diagnosed with lupus. Mm-hmm. And now, many, many years later, I'm still here and kicking and still standing. But it's been a journey because I've had some hospitalizations and some illnesses. Some were more serious than others. But
right.
I've changed so many things in order to still be here. I changed to a plant-based diet, and I exercise pretty much daily. I'm a Pilates fan. But whatever works is good as long as we're moving,
right,
at least for half an hour or so,
right,
a day or more, hopefully, on a daily basis. But it really worked for me as I implemented those changes. Of course, got a lot of rest.
Right.
And
so let me ask you how you're able to do that, because for people who are listening, again, you're listening to Redline here on 910 AM. I'm Ben Calais Townsend. My guest, Judge Karen Ford Hood from the Michigan Court of Appeals, also a member of the Judicial Tenure Commission, as well as Attorney Rita White. People who are listening, there are folks who say, well, I'm busy. I have a professional life, so I may not really have time to take care of my health. I mean, there are people who may not really have time to take care of their health because they say, well, they're busy, they have things to do, they're running around and all these other things. They go to conferences, they're taking care of this. I mean, given where you sit, I don't think anybody has been more busier than you do. Talk about how you've been able to do that.
Well, my concern was all of the medication.
Right.
And I decided that one of the things that I could do, since it's a disease that you can't just take medicine all the time.
Right.
One of the things I had to do was to also help educate our community, because I've indicated African Americans are disproportionately affected with these autoimmune diseases. Lupus is an autoimmune disease. And
right.
So I wanted to make sure that as a Christian, that I shared my testimony with my friends and people. And yeah, exactly.
Right.
You have to. I can't just work all the time and be with friends. You've got to do some work, give back.
Right.
And I have so many blessings.
Right. Rita, let's go to you. Your take on this, because also this week, this month is Kidney Week. We're talking about African American health in multiple facets, and we don't normally have this conversation about Black women and their health. We talk about Black men and their health. We beat the drum. Go to the doctor. Go see the doctor. Black men, we get scared to go see the doctor. We don't make that kind of appointment. And, we're all guilty of that. It's like, it's one of like the worst days, in our lives. But from where Judge Hood stopped, the vocation here, you're busy, professional. How do you balance that vocation and being able to say, I got to pay attention, I got to, focus on me?
Well, thank you for having me on your TV show. And yes, is one of my dearest mothers, friends, my soulmate, in terms of we do both suffer from lupus. And the main issue that I've learned from Judge Hood, and we met back in about getting close to 6, 7 years or 8 years ago. My husband, he's into holistic therapy.
Right.
So he would always try to push me to go into becoming plant-based. And I didn't want to believe him because he didn't have issues, or he didn't, I didn't see anything that would cause that. So I met Karen Judge Hood, and she introduced me to this because I realized we had the same situations going on in terms of our issues health-wise.
Right.
And it just expanded more out of that because I went and followed her regimen of plant-based, just no meat, no dairy. And from that time, from 2010 to present.
That takes a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
I can't imagine finding too many people who don't like meat.
Yes. And my lupus has gone in remission. However, unfortunately, lupus again attacks your organs.
Okay.
And one of the organs that has attacked my body is my kidney.
Right.
So I am in need of a kidney transplant at this moment.
Right.
However, I'm able to keep above water by the fact that I'm maintaining my diet through a plant-based diet, taking away processed foods, making sure I'm always hydrated. There's a lot of different ways that we as women, Black women, and the African-American community can really work on trying to put an actual, basically try to mediate this issue with concerning autoimmune issues.
Right. Right.
So that's the main reason why I want to kind of discuss this issue, because we have to really focus on what we put into our bodies. We can live by what we eat, and we can die by what we eat. So that's a big issue right now. And when you look at the statistic, as I'm here right now, based on the fact that I'm here looking in need of a kidney, actual donation, organs, transplant, 80% of the African American community, over 80%, are in need of kidney transplant.
Wait, let's repeat that again. So over 80% are in need of kidney transplant.
Correct. Just statistically, in 2017, 1,001 African Americans were on the waiting list for a kidney transplant, compared to 82 Hispanics and compared to actually 53 Middle Eastern. Now, if you look at that actual statistic dynamic, what does that show you? Our community is in need of major education, a dietary active movement. There's a lot of different issues that we need to attack. And so that's why I met Judge Hood. And from that, I really worked on and really been able to improve my diet and improve my health through that way.
So Judge, we have a health emergency here in the Black community. There is a health emergency. Listening to the numbers that Rita just rattled off, there is a sense of urgency. Do you see that sense of urgency though in your community? I mean, even though it's evident by the numbers.
Well, I absolutely don't think that we're educating the community as much as we should.
Right.
But sometimes you've got to have initiative for your own health, and be an advocate for your own health.
Right.
But in the meantime, when I spoke with Rita recently, and she told me that it had become more serious in terms of needing a kidney more sooner than later.
Right.
And she and I happen to have the same rheumatologist at the University of Michigan, so we tend to share information all the time, even with him.
Right.
And so I told Rita, I said, one of the things we need to do is get out in the community and talk about
Put the water out.
The need for diabetics that need kidneys and all of these autoimmune diseases. We need to talk about it, because when I talked to the doctor, he said, well, I'm glad you're helping, Rita, because we've got to get that out of the community and let people know. He said the Black community rarely volunteers to be tested or, to see if they're compatible.
Yeah.
These things need to happen. We're here today. One of the reasons is to talk about the need and get names of people, get people to contact whomever, and be willing to be tested, because we're all in this together.
Yeah.
And we had the recent thing with Selena Gomez, where she has lupus as well.
Right.
And her best friend, gave a kidney. So we need compatible people. So everybody's not going to be compatible.
Yeah.
We just want to put this out here so people understand. And again, we have a little bit more urgent.
Right. And I'm glad we're having this conversation. This is important. We don't normally have this conversation here about Black women and their health, and we're speaking with Attorney Rita White and Judge Karen Ford Hood from the Michigan Court of Appeals. Judge Hood has been a long-standing pillar in this community. She's the only African-American judge on the Judicial Tenure Commission, which monitors the conduct of judges in the state of Michigan. Rita, coming back to the things that Judge Hood said, this state of emergency that we have, and the fact that sometimes I feel like maybe we're not pushing enough on this issue. I mean, you are here, you need, you are in need of kidney. And we're not pushing it enough, and enough is not being done. Because, again, like the judge said, people get scared of getting tested. People don't want to be out there. They don't want to. It's all about some sort of a self-esteem, I guess, right? People don't want to be out there saying, well, I went to test for this or I needed to do this.
Yeah, I think that's something that definitely needs to be more, we need to be more transparent. I'm not saying that
Right.
people aren't, but there's a lot of issues in our community educational-wise.
Right.
We're not educating ourselves. Like Judge Hood mentioned, we're not getting the word out. We're not really being focused and verbal about these
Right.
issues because a lot of people you're walking around with, such as me and Judge Hood, you can walk around. I'm a very busy criminal defense
Right,
attorney.
right.
I'm in court every day working
Yeah.
with clients left and right. They don't know.
High blood
Yeah.
pressure, court hearing.
Hypertension, huge.
Right.
Stress level high. However, when you look at somebody, you can't immediately tell they're sick.
Right.
The only way you can tell is either by someone telling the person or unfortunately seeing them at a point when they're in the hospital
Right.
or
Right.
somewhere where you don't
Right.
want to see them.
Right. Right.
So the main thing is you need to just